Today we will discuss the dynamic memory allocation of a single dimensional matrix as well as two-dimensional matrix. Once you learn this technique, same can be applied for any dimensional matrix. In this slide, we'll try to learn how a single dimensional matrix looks like and how it is represented in C language. Right? Finally, we'll also discuss how to allocate memory dynamically for a single dimensional array. Right? So the first statement, we represent our matrix. Right? There are 7 elements, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 14 and 17, 7 elements, right? So using array, we can represent like this. So we are considering it's an integer type matrix, int matrix, and there are 7 elements, 4, 6, 7, 9 and till 17, right? So it is optional that actually we define or we declare 7 elements before. If we don't declare here or if we don't mention here, automatically 7 element will be occupied or 7 memory location will be occupied. So this is the representation of in a memory location 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 14 and 17, right? If we want to allocate this memory dynamically, so how we'll do in C, we'll create a pointer, int star pointer, and we'll allocate memory. So how we'll allocate memory? Using malloc. So malloc will give you dynamic memory, right? And which needs to be typecasted with a pointer type. That means we want integer pointers, right? Integer pointer. Malloc size of integer. So size of integer is 4 and 7 elements. There are total 7 elements. So total 7 into 4 is 28 bytes will be allocated dynamically. Now you see how we can access nth element. So for example, 7th element, how we'll access using pointers. If pointer is pointing to 4. If pointer is pointing to 4, then we need to jump 2 location here, right? So ptr plus 2. If we want to access 10th, then we need to jump on 1, 2, 3, 4, right? ptr plus 4. If it is AND, then you have to jump nth location. So there are 2 ways of writing this syntax. One is ptr within bracket ptr plus n, or using the syntax of the array ptr n, similar to the array representation. Now let's look at the representation of two-dimensional array and how it is represented in C using array. So first diagram, you can see a two-dimensional array where there are 3 rows and 3 columns, right? 3 columns. The first row, second row, and third row. And it is represented in array like this. So where each elements are separated by comma and each rows are separated by second bracket, right? So now let's see how we can implement this using pointers. Basically, we want to allocate dynamically memory where the row and columns are not known before, right? So if you can see the picture here, right? Two-dimensional array is nothing but one-dimensional array, right? Multiple one-dimensional array. So this is row 1, row 2, row 3. These are actually one-dimensional array, right? One-dimensional array. And there is another array of pointer which every element of the array is pointing to this individual array, right? So how to implement this? So first, we need to create an array of pointers, right? For each row. For this row, 1 element. For this row, 1 element. For this row, 1 element. Right? This is the first step. Once I create memory for this array, for each array, I need to create an actual memory space. Right? So how to do that in C? Let's go to the next slide. As we discussed in the last slide, there are 2 steps of creating memory dynamically for a two-dimensional array. The first step is create a array of pointers. right? How to do that? So we can create memory like this. In star ptr, and I am allocating memory for integer pointer into tree. That means the array of tree, and its elements are actually integer pointer, right? And type is set to integer pointer. So this statement will create my first array. Now each element in this array should point to a one-dimensional array. So how to do that? So look at this statement. So I am running a loop for this array, every element of this array, and for each array element, I am creating a one-dimensional array. How to do that? So already we learned how to create a one-dimensional array memory. So it's an int type data into 3, right? There are 3 elements and all are integer type, right? Integer into 3, right? And type is to do integer pointer, right? So now each element is pointing to one-dimensional array. So how to access any of the index of this matrix? So for example, let's say 5 I have to access, right? So first I have to come to this array and this point, right? How to do that? ptr plus 2, right? So this will ptr plus 2 will point to this. Now if we dereference with the column which is actually 1, now the whole, if we do plus 1, it will come to 5, right? So there are 2 ways of representing. One is the array way, it's a simplistic way, ptr r and c, or I can dereference like this. So ptr plus row, let's say consider it is 2, and then plus column, right? This is how you can create dynamic memory for 2-dimensional array. If you learn this technique, you can use this technique for 3-dimensional array or n numbers of dimensional array. Thank you. For more details on various online classes, please visit www.onlineclassforyou.com.